Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome at this EU Sustainable Energy Week session on heat pumps. I'm Josephine van Beeselare, and I'm Policy Director at the European Heat Pump Association, and I'm very happy to see you all here in this very cozy room, and also online, I assume, because this is being live streamed. So the title of this session, Electrifying Heating with Heat Pumps, Clean Tech in the European Integrated Energy System. You see, I have to read it. It's quite a mouthful because it touches upon many different aspects, and we will try to touch upon those as well during the session today. So we will start with a short explanation on the Heat Pump Accelerator platform, because that is actually what brought us together here today and the reason why we set up this session. And after that, we will address different issues, barriers, solutions along the customer journey for heat pumps, which we'll discuss with this distinguished panel. I'll now introduce the different panelists to you. So first of all, we have Anja Fleutenmeier-Woltmann in the middle. She's a strategic communication consultant who drives the shift towards a carbon-neutral future, and she led campaigns like the National Heat Pump Week in Germany, engaging audience which are usually not super interested, for example, in heat pumps. So really the consumer awareness and communications aspect. Then we have Marta Navarrete. She is currently head of EU policy and regulation at the Spanish utility Iberdrola, and she also brings experience from previous roles at National Grid and Friends of the Supergrid, and she's an engineer. Then we have Bright Adia. He's team manager at VITO, a Belgian research institute, and he's also a consortium partner in the Heat Pump Accelerator platform, and actually Bright is the coordinator of the whole project. He is coordinating different energy-related projects at VITO and also working on energy policy research. He also has experience as energy, climate and mobility advisor for a Belgian vice prime minister, and worked at city level on energy and climate, and also as parliamentary assistant. Then we have Enrique Villamitiana. He's managing director at Panasonic Heating, Ventilation and Air Conditioning Europe, and he's leading Panasonic's heating and cooling business and has over 27 years of experience in this sector, also an engineer. And then we have Mr. Sebastian Herkel at the end of the row. He's head of department Energy Efficient Buildings Division Heat and Buildings at Fraunhofer ISE, and also Fraunhofer is one of the partners of the Heat Pump Accelerator. Sebastian is a researcher working in applied research on building energy performance and renewable energy systems, and focuses on integral energy concepts for buildings and neighborhoods. And last but not least, we have Mr. Niels Ladevoogd, Deputy and Acting Head of Unit B3, Buildings and Products at DG Energy of the European Commission. And he has more than 23 years of experience within the European Commission, taking several positions on energy and climate. Welcome to all of you. So as mentioned, we will start with a short introduction on the Heat Pump Accelerator platform, which I will explain to you. So so here you can see a quick overview of this action. So the Heat Pump Accelerator platform is an action by the European Commission that is executed by a consortium of the European Heat Pump Association, VITO and Fraunhofer, and we bring together a wide group of stakeholders to look at issues to accelerate the heat pump rollout. Next to that, we also work on a range of deliverables from analyzing heat pump policy frameworks to increasing data on heat pumps, and also looking into the research, innovation and development. So the aim, as you can see here, it's really to build a coalition of committed stakeholders, to forge partnerships, to align strategies, learn from each other on best practices, and then also to shape future research and innovation. On this slide, you can see the stakeholders that are part of this platform. So the biggest two groups are industrial actors and consumers, but also national and regional authorities or energy agencies. And then we have a wide variety going from financial institutions to research institutes, installers, education and training, and also utilities and regulators. So really a variety set of stakeholders working on this together. So what we did, the project started last September and will last for 3 years. And in the first meeting with the wide group of stakeholders that we had in January, we analyzed the customer journey. So we looked at 5 steps of the customer journey, starting from engaging the consumer and raising awareness. So the first step is, if you want to install a heat pump, you need to have a customer that is convinced and that knows what a heat pump is as well. And then secondly, once the customer says, okay, I want a heat pump, okay, then this person needs to find an installer that is qualified, that can install a heat pump, and that is also advising to install a heat pump. Once that's there, then you go to the third step, and that is, okay, paying for this heat pump. What is the price? Is it affordable? Once that is there, then also it's important that this heat pump is delivered smoothly, spare parts are there, the manufacturing goes well, the entire supply chain resilience is there. And then afterwards, we need to integrate it into the electricity system, connecting with the home energy management system and so on. So this we have been discussing with that group. And then in the last meeting that took place only last week, we have been looking at the heat pump cost structure. So the heat pump cost, so the total cost of ownership is put together by the upfront cost, which you can, which is built from the system cost, so the heat pump system, and then the installer, the installation cost, and then the running costs, which are based on the efficiency of the heat pump and the electricity cost. So those two together build the total cost of ownership. So but that's what we analyzed with this group of people. But it would be interesting to also look at the group of people today in the room and online. So we have prepared some small Slido questions for you to also see what you think about these topics and heat pumps. So a first question is, for that indeed you need to scan the QR and or join Slido online. And the question is, do you have a heat pump in your house? I see that the replies are yes or now. No, but now is also very good. If you have now a heat pump in your house, amazing. We would like that. So if everyone says now, it's positive. So for this question, let's treat the now. Ah, it's adapted. Perfect. Now it's very clear. Okay. Yeah. You see the majority is no. Well, we also know in Brussels, I assume most of you live in Brussels, or quite some of you travel to Brussels. Okay. Well, there's still some work to do, I think. So that's also why we have the Heat Pump Accelerator platform, to look into accelerating the heat pump rollout and tackling the different challenges. So hopefully if we do this again next year, everyone says yes, and the customer journey goes very smooth and the installation goes very fast. So let's look at that. Okay, the next question is on what do you see as the main barriers from your perspective for heat pump rollouts. You can also take it, very personal. If you have wanted to install a heat pump or want to, what are you, coming across as issues? Okay. Of course, I explained already that we discussed with this group the cost issue, so it's not surprising that also here this is quite high in the ranking. But it's quite interesting that as a third you see consumer awareness as well. Yeah, it seems to be quite consistent and not changing too much anymore. Okay, good. So that's very interesting, because we had the cost issue we touched upon in the Accelerator platform meeting, and now as a first presentation, as an input for the discussion, we will have a presentation by Anja on exactly the third topic that is listed there, the consumer awareness and how to engage with consumers. So I'll give the floor to Anja.
Thank you very much.
If you can.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be invited and to be speaking here. My name is Anja Flötenmeier, and I would like you all to take your phones out, because I've prepared some slides to take home. It will be online later, I suppose, but it's always good to have it in your pocket, isn't it? So I come from the perspective of the citizens. These are the citizens. This is my audience in Hanover, Germany, where I was working. I was the managing director of the Climate Protection Agency agency of the region of Hanover. 21 municipalities, 1.2 million citizens, 10,000 of buildings, and that was at the height of the Heat Hammer campaign. May I please ask all of you to raise their hands if they know what the Heat Hammer campaign in Germany was? Who has heard of that? Okay, there was a massive fossil fuel-led anti-heat pump campaign. And the people were really uncertain about the technology. They had heard a lot of economic misconceptions. They had really inhaled plenty of fake news campaigns that was led by the fossil fuel industry. And these people are not coming into action because they have to overcome these uncertainties. They don't know what the technology is. They have no idea whom to ask and how such a project will happen and be made happen. They have too much choice. They've heard you can dig or there is a air-to-water heat pump, if they've heard that already. They don't know whom to trust. They don't know who the brands are, the installers are, where to go to. And also, if the neighbors are not doing it, nobody will be doing it. Social recognition is very, very important, and the economic misconceptions I've spoken about. So this is the one-stop shop. I've brought to you 2 examples today. This is the one-stop shop of the Climate Protection Agency of the Hanover region. And I called the whole campaign My Climate Coach, Fit for the Future, because it was also about retrofitting solar roofs and about clean heating. If we look at our targets to become climate neutral, we've got a large number of buildings and we can do backcasting. How many houses do we have to transform on an annual basis? What's the rate? And then we know how to communicate. And then we can scale that up. So we have to look at consulting in the first place. What does consulting consist of? It consists of knowledge transfer on how does such a project work. People want to know, can my house do that already? Is it ready? They would want to know whether there will be funding, how to calculate on such a project and who can help them with that. Can they afford it? Also, they need a trusted recommendation they can follow. And magically, all of that can be done in group settings. And we did that in Hanover, Germany, online and in person. It needs to be supported by checklists and smart online tools, and one-on-one consulting needs to be done also, but only for difficult situations. So this is how knowledge transfer was done in Hanover, Germany. We spread out our campaign and our knowledge in online webinars and in informational events. And we did them in all municipalities, like 21 municipalities, and the online webinars we did weekly at different hours. So we addressed different age groups with that. We also had our own newspaper cooperation, so we would be able to print on a monthly basis the knowledge into the paper. And then we generated podcasts from these events. So this was the knowledge transfer. And when the audience had gotten that much information, they will need help. So they were offered a flat rate for facts from us. We said, come again and again. There are no silly questions. We are here for you. You can do that in weekly online Q&Rs, in energy meetings in the municipalities. We were about to provide the online tools for that, and one-on-one consulting we provided for the elderly and for larger projects. They needed that. So I left my position as a managing director in Hanover, and I was not leading the week of the heat pump. That was done by Deutsche Energieagentur, but they brought me in as a strategic advisor, and the federal ministry wanted heat pump communications, and we provided that in a nationwide week. That was done last November, and we did that in all federal states and all over Germany. So in Hanover, Germany, I did 218 events within 3/4 of a year. This was 550 now within a week. So we applied that by energy agencies that are technical experts on the ground, 35 energy agencies, bodies, but they were doing technical communication. And what I did was the strategy of the presentation itself. So the slides of the presentations were done by me, and I also coached 150 of these technical experts, because that was difficult. We had to tell them that they needed to shape their communications completely differently. Because coming from our audience, we need to reshape our arguments. These are the 250 people during the Heat Hammer campaign in our room. And the shaping of the arguments comes from the citizen themselves, and not from the technicalities, not from the heat pumps, not from all information you know. Because information doesn't change behavior. Facts don't change behavior. Let that please sink in. Facts don't change behavior. That's a fact. Yeah, that's research. We've got research on communications on that. So the psychological principles we are applying are here, and there's the camera sign. Please take a picture, because I can't go through 1 hour of presentation within 10 minutes or even 3. So this is what we applied. It's loss aversion, social proof, risk mitigation. That is where you get the audience to listen. And then they want to know, what are the risks I can mitigate? Where do I get money from? Simplification is enormously important. You have to think about the whole customer journey from the perspective of the citizen. And we really had to teach the technical experts not to talk about tech. So I will show you, and empowered choice is really important there, because we all know these sentences. We don't want to be nanny stated. It's my free will, it's my free choice. So I had that said within this presentation at 3 occasions in the presentation, in the events, that is the people's free choice. If I were them, I would be ready by 27, but you know, it's your free choice, you can do what you want. And that's an important information to encourage the people to empower their choice. So I would like to show you 5 slides from the presentation now. And this is how trust building in the technology looks like. The more northern the country, the colder the winter, the more heat pumps. That speaks for itself. Also, 2 million heat pumps in Germany are not a catastrophe in Bild-Zeitung every day. This is also very, very powerful to tell, well, we are really lagging behind. Nobody wants to be lagging behind. All of us, we are hardwired to have a herd instinct. This is, oh, that's not a niche product. This is, everybody's doing it already. This is simplification. If everybody basically is doing air-to-water heat pumps, I'm fine. I don't have to look at 20 different heat pump shapes and forms and think about digging or not digging and my lawn and whatever. People are really, really exhaling and thinking, oh, it's not as difficult as I thought. And this is my favorite slide from the whole presentation. This is half of my audience will be out of gas and oil within 10 years. And the other half will be lagging behind then. If you haven't moved yourself and haven't done anything within the next 10 years, you will be lagging behind. And I'm sorry, I don't know whether there will be subsidies. And at the moment they're good, so I would secure those. And this is the result. Only the navy bar is the funding applications, which increased massively in December. And half of that I would attribute to our deflated German government. But all of it is risk aversion, because they all wanted to secure the funding, all of them. And we also talked to 50,000 people within this week. So each euro invested returned a lot of money. So 300 to 500 euros in market value. And this is, again, my audience from Hanover. And I had this very event in Hanover during the Heat Hammer campaign where everybody was really, really cross and annoyed and heard the most crap you ever could imagine about heat pumps. I had evaluated that, and they filled in a questionnaire. And 85% said, okay, we're doing the next step now. And this is what needs to come in there. It's a customer journey, and it's only one step. And the next step was, okay, let's look at some more information. Let's take on these online consultations. And it's not all bad news. So the overall installs are decreased, but we are already at 42% in the first quarter of 25. And this is the last chart, and I would encourage you to connect with me via this QR code on LinkedIn, and I can then send you the charts. So the core principles for behavior change is to increase motivation and to reduce barriers, simplify the whole customer journey, signal to everybody that this is inevitable. This is not going to go away. The problem will increase if the people are not looking into it, and provide a proper one-stop shop for information, make it easy for the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anja. This is very interesting. So now that we've heard from Anja really how to engage the citizen and how to look at this communication aspect and raising awareness, I would like to ask the panel for their reaction. So if you look at the consumer, at the citizens, what do you see as the main perspectives or the main issues to address to engage citizens in the heat pump journey? Maybe we can start with Enrique from a heat pump manufacturer's perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and certainly, Anja, I think what you show, it's a really important point, because first of all, I think the fact the information is shared is bringing results, and I think you could show how this is coming when the people understand. But I also was interesting to see that 68% of you maybe will buy my products next year. Good, that is really good. But I think it's important to understand the upfront cost seems to be the relevant part for all of you. And when we think about upfront cost, I think we should question ourselves, what does it mean? And I think we need to consider that there are many factors which are impacting in the decision of buying a heat pump. And there is one which is definitely important, which is if you buy something, you want to be the smart. You want to see the return on your investment. So you want to see, I bought this heat pump, and then the next week, and I remember, Anja, when I was living in Germany, we had a competition, who is having the electricity bill the cheapest, right? So, and how is the electricity bill once we buy a heat pump? Is it going to be good or not? And that is where we need to start looking at one of the critical factors, and I think it was the number 2 factor when we saw these statistics, is what about the electricity price? I'm going to save money, really, or not? And there is a point we need to work, because today, even if we are saying heat pump, and I think it's a fantastic, we are all sitting here, European Commission, talking about heat pump, still there is a big discrepancy between the electricity price and the gas price. I think you will probably agree with me that if we drop the electricity, at least I think 25% of the people will agree that if the electricity price is a lower price, so the heat pumps will grow. And that, I think, we can see it in the statistics. I think you show, Anja, as well, some of the statistics of Nordic countries going up. But by the way, 68% and 65% of the heat pumps are sold in Norway and Finland, I think it was shown, or Sweden. I want to remark, most of them are not air-to-water. Most of them are air-to-air heat pump. You know heat pump is also air-to-air? How many people know that? That's good. That's very good. But in any case, I think this is not a point the Commission does not know. In fact, I think it's working. So there is the Affordable Energy Action Plan that need to come. And that is definitely, if the member states apply it will be a really good news. I think maybe the challenge is that the Energy Taxation Directive is stopped since 2021. Maybe this is a point that we should work all together to move it. But definitely energy is one of the critical points. We need to reduce the cost of the electricity. But then the customer journey sometimes is very quickly, the people is very quickly looking at the manufacturer. But in reality, it's a shared responsibility. So it's the job we need to do, the manufacturers, the installers, the utilities, the public. So there is many actors who are really influencing how it's going to be at the end if this heat pump, the total cost of ownership of this heat pump is a suitable one or not. But I think it's a degree of inevitable. The upfront cost is not going to be cheap. Nothing is cheap. Absolutely nothing. But then, for instance, me, I'm always thinking, even if I want to take the subsidy, of course, but are we sure the subsidy is what is changing in long term, the trend that is being happening? So I think when we put a little money to reduce the upfront cost, maybe that will not be a solution. Maybe we need to start thinking how to make good financing for the people to be able to acquire those goods. So, and then, for instance, one of the proposals should be, why instead of putting 3,000 euro for the subsidy, why don't we give 10 years, 15 years, low-cost loans that probably will cost to the public much less than 3,000 euro and will convince many more people to buy? Because if you buy for a logical price monthly and your electricity price is reasonable, probably we will convince many more people to come. So, too much time? It's okay?
We can go to the next. Okay, thank you a lot, Enrique. Indeed, we have a quite tight schedule, so it would be good to also hear from Marta, from a utilities perspective. How do you look at these main customer-related issues, cost-related issues?
Yeah, thank you, Josephine. Yeah, indeed. So I think I'm going to agree a lot with what Enrique just said. Definitely one of the big barriers is the high upfront cost. We know that, but it's also the payback period. I think if we were able to bring down the payback period, we would have very different results. We've seen that with the deployment of photovoltaic, for instance. And the payback period is really related to the electricity bill. So how much does it cost? So let's take the example of Spain, which is a market we know very well in Iberdrola. Do you know which are the two most taxed products in Spain? And in the EU, by the way, it's the same. I'm sure most of you will guess it. Tobacco and alcohol, right? What I think is going to be very difficult for you to guess is which is the third one. Yes, it's electricity. The difference between the first two is that there are products that we want to disincentivize. They're unhealthy, right? Whereas electricity, it will make our cities cleaner. It will reduce our dependency on fossil fuels, on third countries. It will make us more energy efficiency. But on energy, we follow a very strange logic. We disincentivize electricity, and we somehow incentivize other products that is competing directly with it, like gas. When it comes to the electricity bill, in average in Europe, 40% of the bill is taxes and levies. It's only 60% that is dedicated to the actual supply. We also operate in Iberdrola in the US. Industries in the US pay 4 times less in their electricity in taxes than in the EU. When it comes to, for instance, data about the cost of supply in electricity, all these, you have a lot of graphs from Eurostat looking at the evolution of prices of electricity in the last 10, 15 years. And what is incredible to see, you have these graphs with the final price of electricity with taxes and without taxes. And what is incredible to see is that every time you see a decrease in the actual cost of supply of the electricity, is absorbed systematically by taxes. So this means these savings are not actually reaching the final consumers. The only exception, the crisis in 22 and 23, where taxes were reduced. Yes, indeed, governments had to act because we had a huge problem with prices. But now we are back to normal. We are not back to normal prices. When you look, for instance, we've done a detailed analysis of the electricity bill in Spain and compare it to gas. It's incredible to see the number of taxes, specific taxes that we have on electricity. We have a dedicated tax on electricity, which is around 7 euros per megawatt hour. That's the impact in the bill. There is a dedicated tax as well on fossil fuels, but that's 1.2 euros megawatt hour. So it's not at all equivalent. We also have a dedicated tax on electricity generation that goes directly to the final bill as well. This is a tax that was introduced to finance coal at the time. We are no longer mining coal. We don't need that, but it's used to finance the regions. So there are plenty of examples like that. We still have fossil fuel subsidies. So I think it's time to change this logic and to start. We have a legacy of fiscal policies, a legacy of fossil fuel subsidies. It's time to reverse that. It's time to look at all those taxes. So I would say member states should do the exercise to look at the scope of the taxes, and anything that puts a brake on electrification, probably it needs to be revised. I think the action plan for affordable energy is very clear on that. The Clean Industrial Deal as well. So it's time to take action and improve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta. Very clear points. And Bright, you have been doing some research also on ETS2, so that's quite relatable to the taxes and costs and so on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I thought it was a great presentation. I'm always happy to be in a room where we talk beyond facts, because our behavior is driven by emotions and intuitions. And I'm a big fan of Daniel Kahneman. So if you need to read an extra book or start reading, I would really suggest thinking fast and slow and learn everything about System 1 and System 2. But the question was not about a book review, so maybe back to business. So no, Europe will introduce a second system for emissions trade, this time on the buildings and transport, also known as ETS2. And this is a carbon price. Of course, it's part of a broader set of measures, the Green Deal. But it will positively impact the business case of heat pumps by affecting the electricity to gas ratio. And it's really, really complicated isolating the effect of one single measure. Nevertheless, we tried at Vito, and we published a report in April that assessed the financial impact of heating of ETS2 on the electricity bill, on the energy bill, and assuming a ETS2 price of 60 euros a ton CO2, and it will probably get higher, but assuming 60 euros per ton CO2, we found that on average, the additional cost for a household is 20 to 30 euros a month. And this is already a lot for people in energy poverty. This number increases further to 40 euros and more in poorly insulated houses, heated with heating oil. So this shows really the need for national and European policies that decrease the amount of fossil fuel as needed and that we're burning, because when the amount of fossil fuels is decreasing, the demand of emission allowances of ETS2 will decrease, and the ETS2 price will also decrease. And of course, heat pumps are essential in the decarbonization of heating. And this also shows that there's a need for a tax shift. While we shift, and the previous Anja said it, we need to shift excess duties away from electricity, make electricity cheap again, and move it to fossil fuels. And the Commission published country-specific recommendations for Belgium, and even with a full federal tax shift, and the ETS2 implemented, the electricity to gas ratio drops from 4 towards 2.6, which makes it the business case a bit more attractive, I would say. And then we need to communicate. We really need to keep on communicating on ETS2 so that citizens, but also companies, that they have all the information to take the right investment decisions, and we need to communicate it strategically. And there I look at Anja to convince us all.
Thank you, Bright. I would like to turn now to Sebastian from Fraunhofer. So, you have been looking at Fraunhofer also on the cost structure in the different countries. So, how do you look at these issues?
Yeah. Okay, now it should work. Yeah.
No, it's not.
I will take this one. No, not better.
Yes,
it's coming. Good.
Yes.
I have to remember last year, I was sitting in midsummer with some friends from Norway and Sweden together, and we had exactly this debate which Anja talked about it. And then, after some discussion, I explained what happened in Germany and so on the heat pump. And then the reaction from a friend from Norway was, and she's not technically at all, "Oh, heat pump is the topic which is wind in Norway, actually." So one part of the whole story is how is the political setting, who is the societal setting, and all these kind of question. But on the other hand, if you look, there are as well, then we talked about prices, and as we do so quite a lot of research together with installers to speed up installation process and so on, we talked about prices. And then if you look only on the Northern European and Northwestern European part of Europe, you see quite a lot of difference in the end-use prices. So there's a factor of 2 actually at the moment. So you have really high-priced countries like Germany and Austria at the moment, and you have countries like Sweden, Denmark, the Netherlands especially, which have much lower prices, and it's not only one factor. So it has to do with installation culture as well, so traditions. For sure we have different loans and income, but there's as well, it has to do with the funding schemes. Yeah, if the funding scheme is like that you get more, the more you will get, and there is a relatively high limit. It will have some effects on the market, and so I think that is one of those things we have to address shortly, and it's not only a technical issue, it has to do with local market design, not only on the question of ETS2 and so on, but as well on how the installation costs are. And for sure, there is then some interaction with the manufacturers as well. You will get different prices in different countries, but it's not the key effect. Yeah. So that's about the question. And second part, maybe as well on the ETS2, what we see from other research we do together with the Potsdam Institute, another organization in Berlin, is that the acceptance of ETS2, it's a quite complicated instrument at the moment. And so I think we have really to put effort on it that these regulations will still alive, because at the moment it's the only instrument all over Europe which secures that we will have some pressure on the fossils, and therefore we are sure we need these boundary conditions for those people who are in more poor situations.
Thank you. Okay, you want to react directly, or first I wanted to give the floor to Niels. So Niels,
I'm just taking the microphone back.
Okay. I thought you had an urgent thing to mention. Okay, so Niels, how do you look at this discussion from Commission's perspective? So ETS2 has been mentioned, the Affordable Energy Action Plan, the Clean Industrial Deal.
Thank you. Well, I think a lot of relevant point has been made, of course. If the electricity prices are too high, we'll never be able to get proper payback times, regardless of the upfront costs. So that is a genuine problem, and probably also the source of some of the other apparent problems when there is not a proper offer in some member states is basically because there is little demand, and therefore it doesn't really pay off to develop the offer. So I think that's key, and as was mentioned, the Commission recommends this to member states but we don't do fiscal policy for the member states. It's really a national matter. We would like to also change the tax rules in Europe, but that requires unanimity. So again, it's really up to the member states to play along here. Although I do believe the tax directive does provide for allow member states to apply for derogations, and there are precedents of that happening. So I don't think member states should or anybody should lean back and just wait for that to happen. ETS2 will go in the right direction. But I think I would also caution against waiting too much on this just to solve the miracle, because even with a profitable, with a good ratio, a more reasonable ratio, for many households, and we want heat pumps to go mainstream, for many households, if the saving is say 40 euros a month, it will make little difference if they have to spend. I mean, the latest offer I saw from Germany last week was more than 65,000 euros. So, I mean, it's just off the moon. You have to be as rich as Elon Musk to consider that seriously. So, you know, we need to the industry. And member states and authorities need to and installers need to get around to find solutions that doesn't drive that kind of output. And I think you're very right. This is where the main problem is actually. In most member states, this is where the main problem is. There's too big of a difference between the installed price for consumers and the price of the heat pumps leaving the factories. And this, I think, and I mean, Enrique and others will have heard me say this before, I think the manufacturers should see this as their problem as well, although it goes beyond your traditional role as making nice boxes, because if you do make nice boxes that are cheap, but nobody buys them because somewhere along the line, too high margins accumulate, ends up being your problem. So I think this is of critical importance. And then I would like to return to, because economics is one part of it, but the other hassle factors and the attractiveness and so on. And Anja, I think you explained it very well. I'm a mechanical engineer myself, but I think, in a sense, Enrique, and I don't know if you're an engineer, Enrique, but I think the industry, there's many good engineers, but there's probably too few salespeople involved so far, and we need to get more salespeople and perhaps e-commerce people involved in to kind of make this attractive and easy. And there, I think simplification and reducing barriers is really of key importance, because I think we don't need to win the ideological fight whether it's necessary for climate and so on. People want to do the right thing. It's just too cumbersome many places. In Brussels, you need planning permission to put up if it's less than 3 meters away from your garden, except all gardens are 6 meter, average gardens are 6 meter wide, so you always need planning permission. That scares a hell of a lot of people away. And there are countless examples of this across Europe. So we need to simplify. Governments and local authorities have responsibility in doing that. Manufacturers, installers have a role to play as well. I saw at the Frankfurt Fair, very positive developments. The manufacturers are now making products that are easier and quicker to install, which will bring down costs and make it more attractive for installers as well. So I think we're on the right track, but I think simplification and then, of course, cost economics are the two keywords. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Niels. I know, Anja, you wanted to react, but because Niels directly talked also to Enrique and manufacturers, I propose to give the word first to Enrique and then to you, Anja. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Niels, for the nice box comment. That it's certainly true. I'm an engineer, unfortunately not a mechanical telecommunication engineer, but life brought me here, But I am a sales guy, I promise. That is for sure. And I have to agree with most of what you said. So in fact, some point I need to fine-tune, if you allow me. I think what you said, in fact, is a co-responsibility. So nobody can do it alone. So we need authorities. We really need, you are taking good actions, as we said before. EPBD is also a good action. but we need to enforce and understanding the difficulties, because at the end, I'm always joking, Europe is in fact not Europe. There are many Europes. That is a reality. But we need to be sure we are moving all together. Electricity must be, I don't want to say cheap, more affordable. And it is true, we need to make a single market. Then it is true, we need to find different ways for the customers to buy. So I will repeat 100 times, I don't believe in subsidies at all. I think we need to bring ways for the people to easily buy. And it is true that it's, even if I promise we are making a lot of efforts as manufacturers, it's really a challenge to keep factories alive, to keep the people alive. With Niels, we are getting regulations continuously. It's very difficult. So I think we need to put focus on what we want. What we want is to electrify Europe. What we want is to increase heat pumps. And I think we need to put a degree of break on new regulations. So I think it's important. We need to put priority, and that is what we as sales guys we do. So what we do is we focus on something. So because we cannot sell to every customer, every product all the time. So I think we need to put focus. That is important. And I think, as you said, the place matters. So it is clear. If you want to install in Germany, you pay more. That is crystal clear. But the salaries are 30% higher than in my country. When I moved to live to Barcelona from Germany, the only thing my boss told me is your salary will be 20% lower. Okay? Okay, yeah, okay. What can I do? But matters, because you want different type of products. The installer, if you go to install in Spain, the installer will put the heat pump, the electricity, the pump, the paint, the wall, and if you have time, they will cook the food. In Germany, I remember my experience. I installed, and then the guy left my house not working. I said, can you please plug the unit? No, that's not my job. You need to call the electrician. What? So I think, Niels, we need to make a work all together. We will do our part. We are doing our part. Surely we are doing our part. But we need to put all the people to work, and we need to all, I don't think we need to work shoulder to shoulder to make this change, because I think we have a lot of challenges. And let me explain very small case. Yesterday, I'm coming from Warsaw. Yesterday I was sitting in Warsaw, and I have to, maybe you have seen what is happening in Poland these days. 73% of the heating systems installed in Poland today are pellet, biomass. We are losing, so we need to really take action. That is what I would like to finish. We really need to take action all together.
Thank you. Anja?
Just a quick addition. We are talking about ETS2 a lot, and we are not talking about Social Climate Fund. And I think nobody of us should ever say ETS2 without saying Social Climate Fund, because we are scaring the public away, and that's our negligence. We can't afford that. Second thing is quick reality check on the real prices in Germany. I did that, some research with great support from all the colleagues out there in Germany. The real prices were for heat pump projects still rather high, but between 27 to 38,000. And if I break that down, including funding and the subsidies, people will want to know, can I afford this? It doesn't have to be cheaper than the solution people have got now, because they are risk averse and they don't want to risk running into high fossil fuel costs. So that will shape their opinion there. And but affordability is key for the people, and we've heard some great solutions on how we could get there.
Thank you very much. Well, we actually have a second part of this debate today, and for that I would like to welcome Bright to give a presentation on the last part that you saw in the whole customer journey that we showed on the slide in the beginning, where you have system integration. So how do we make sure when these heat pumps are there that they are properly integrated in to the energy system, and also working together with home energy management systems, PV, and so on, and that they are not just, I actually read your post on LinkedIn, Anja, that it's heat pumps, what if heat pumps don't just heat homes, but they also support the EU's energy system, and I think that's actually the key question of this second part. So I'll give the floor to you, Bright, for your presentation.
Thank you. So, my name is Bright, and I'll be presenting an interesting case, OpenLab. It's a project, a Green Deal initiative, led by Vito, 32 partners involved there, and it demonstrates positive energy neighborhoods in real-life settings. And it actually shows how collective heat pump systems, how local energy management can reduce costs from the CapEx side by sharing infrastructure, but also from the OpEx side, and also reduce the burden for citizens. So I'm going to walk you through. Okay, so this is the first slide, of course, but not all of you are seeing the slide, so I will just pretend this didn't happen. Huh? We focus in OpenLab, we focus on small and medium cities. This means cities between 50 and 250,000 inhabitants. Why? Because these cities, sometimes they have difficulties in rolling out urban transition projects, in rolling out collective renovation projects. And you see three cases, and there's Pamplona in Spain, Genk, which is in Belgium, and Tartu in Estonia. And these are very much three different urban contexts, very much three different climate zones, and also three different cultures. So for the remainder of the presentation, I'm going to talk about Genk. And I promise this is not because I was born and raised there. This is coincidence. We have Vito offices there and I work there. This is the only reason, I promise. So what did we do? Okay, we took 27 social houses, which can be seen on the slide. I was actually raised in one of those social houses, and we transformed them in 6 to 9 weeks to a positive energy district. And we did this with prefab facades, and we connected houses to energy boxes. Now, these energy boxes, and there will be more detail in the remainder of the presentation. We really chose to connect one house to one energy box, 2 houses to one energy box, 3 houses to one energy box, to really look like and investigate what's the ideal scale, what's the right scale size to reduce costs, among other factors. So what is in a box? I forgot to mention all technology, of course. There's the heat pumps are there, ventilation is there, the connections to the PV system is there. So more details soon. And this is what we did. We combined prefab facades with plug-and-play energy boxes to reduce the heating demand by 50% and making these social houses heat pump ready. And in this project, this is actually a living lab. So it connected the research center with the public sector and citizens, but also the industry. And this is interesting because it's more than technology. It's also a project on social acceptance. It's also a project on data and data management. And I mean, we're really grateful that Daikin, a global player in heating and cooling, is able to test, for example, new products, new generations of heat pumps in the project. Okay, so this is the playground. Meet the playground. This shows what we did. This is the design. So you see a lot of identical houses. I forgot to mention. All these social houses were built in the same period for mining purposes, mining employees that were housed there. So identical houses, and each house is unique, a unique combination of technology inside a box. So we deliberately didn't choose one solution, but we chose different solution packages to really look, okay, what works, what can we achieve in terms of costs, what is perceived as the most comfortable for residents, what's the social acceptance, and each house is unique. And we have 200 sensors in each house, which takes a lot of energy, you are thinking now. But it makes it also very interesting because we can monitor and control each house, each energy box by a district management system. And so we can pose a number of research questions, of course. And we can, as on the slide, we can compare air-water to geothermal heat pumps, but also dimensions. What is the I don't know, the acoustic disturbance perceived by citizens? Is there a difference for surface heating and comfort or not? And so there was the animation coming in, but because they are identical houses, we could really compare. And this is an interesting result. Prices drops to 50% per dwelling at an optimum of 5 collective dwellings. So let's say all technology costs 30,000 euros for one dwelling. If we combine an energy box for 5 houses, it only increases up to 80,000 euros, which is, of course, a tremendous difference. And so when this product was developed, we could also play with business models. For example, to lease all energy and technology. And we can control, of course, with all sensors. And so that the cost for citizens is also as low as possible in a leasing formula. So these energy boxes were developed within OpenLab, and now you see them popping up on multifamily buildings in Belgium, where I think 7 apartments are combined in one energy box. Now this also is very much interesting, of course, because we have a lot of multifamily houses in Europe, in Belgium as well. But it's also a challenge to individually go for air-to-air heat pumps, for example. This is in some cities they have regulation that it's like visually not attractive, etc. You can overcome a lot by doing so, but not everything. So I'll keep talking. So we have the physical twin, the physical building, in which we can test products and services, but we also have a digital copy of the house, which is also interesting because we can model now what happens when energy prices change, what happens with ETS, when the electricity to gas ratio changes, what happens with different policy measures. And we can model results, and there's a lot of data coming in, 200 sensors. So we should also think about data and interoperability, because let's say Daikin is providing heat pumps, but will they allow that a third party controls their heat pump to offer flexibility to the grid? These are also questions we need to talk about. And then we discovered, of course, that these business models for collective operation, that they are complex and also hampered by legislation. And we've talked about it a bit. Let's imagine you have a multi-family house with a PV system on top of it. We chose that the electricity would flow to the energy box. But then, of course, the surplus is injected in the net, but we can't provide the people inside from electricity without also paying for tariffs and costs. So this has a negative impact on the business case of these collective approaches. Voilà, that was it. I'm happy to answer questions, although I'm not the coordinator, so if I can't answer, I will come back to you by email. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you very much, Bryce. Very interesting also to see these actual impacts on the ground and not only talk about policy. Really good. And I think in the first session we discussed about we need to collaborate to implement heat pumps together to look at how we can accelerate the rollout. And there you see also collaboration on the ground that different, the whole sector, the whole value chain, and even broader has to collaborate as well to integrate this and to ensure that we have this energy system integration with heat pumps. So let's discuss also how the different actors here look at this. For this, I would like to give first the floor to Sebastian Herkel, because you are also doing research on similar topics at Fraunhofer. So how do you look at this, and how do you think this could be further accelerated and become maybe the new normal and further implemented throughout Europe?
Just starting with the last discussion, we had it about electricity prices. And for sure, if you look at the electricity prices, a big share on this is the cost we have to pay for our grids. And that is one thing you see as well in this example here is we have to establish exactly these new business models in order to reduce the cost for the grids, and there we have to differentiate as well. It's not only a question of the big large national grids, which are responsible to reduce dispatch power and this, but it's as well quite a lot on the local grids, and there I think we can save quite a lot of money if we go into energy management systems. And one of those tasks I see actually at the moment is that we have to organize as well the discussion or the process between manufacturers who are providing solutions, and providing more and more integrated solutions. And if you look at home energy management systems, if you go to one client, one manufacturer, you will get a good system which fits well. If you have a new building, everything is fine, it works fine, reliable. But if you speak with the installers who will have to do more and more with existing houses, and the ones who are at the existing houses are not at one point installing the heat pump, at one point installing the PV system, at one point installing their wall box for the car mounting, and then you have to integrate those. So we need as well a little more standardization and at least discussion between these different stakeholders. And if I look at the politics at that point, they should support this part, but the job has to be done, I think, by the different actors. That's very clear what we see out of our research.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. So let's move to these different actors, I would say. Maybe going to Marta from a utility perspective, since that's quite crucial as well in this whole integration. How do you see it?
So maybe just one step backwards before answering your question on how to integrate heat pumps better into the electricity system. As a utility and a renewable energy developer, we've been already saying for quite a long time that we have a problem. So the level of integration of renewables in the system is low. It's not low in the electricity market, it's low in the system as a whole. Why? Because we see, for instance, in countries like Spain, where we have a lot of renewables deployed already, with existing projects and the ones that are in the pipeline, we can probably cover all the electricity demand. What we are missing now is the next step. So a lot of the demand is still locked in fossil fuels. So what we need to do is electrify the demand. And this is not happening. When you look at the electrification ratio, is stagnating, it's not improving. And this means that this renewable electricity is not reaching our homes, our cars, our industries. A big bottleneck for this is indeed the grid. Is one of the major bottlenecks that we see right now. Just to give you the numbers in Spain, in 2024, so last year, we had in the distribution grids 67 gigawatts of connection requests. Of those, 50% were rejected. A lot of this is industry that, for instance, wants to electrify, to install heat pumps. So we're talking a lot about houses, but also industry is important. Part of it, around 4 gigawatts, were about urbanistic development. So it's also impacting the houses. This is getting to a level that now we have an alliance in Spain that is called the Alliance for Green and Connected Spain, which is also made by consumers. Actually, it's not the utilities that have created. So it's becoming a social issue. So we need to tackle this. The grid is an issue, and the grid package, I think, is going to be fundamental. Now, when it comes to the actual integration of heat pumps in the system, so as utilities, we are trying to do as much as we can to make sure that any appliance, anything that is connected to the system needs to be as efficient as possible and contribute to the system. So for instance, in Iberdrola, we have an app that allows you to, when you have your heat pump at home, it allows you to monitor your consumption and compare it with the electricity prices, the different tariffs. So you can adapt your behavior so that consume less when the price is cheaper. But of course, most of ours, the average consumer is not looking at the app and adapting their consumption. We have other things to do. The next step, what we're trying to implement through a pilot is controlling automatically the consumption. So we can increase or reduce by 2 degrees the heat pump and shift the load to those hours. For instance, in Spain, you have a lot of solar production during the day, so we can consume more during those hours, less in the hours where you have higher prices because the electricity price is set by fossil fuels, and without actually impacting the comfort in the house. So this is something that we are developing. The next step would be also looking at DSO. So for instance, grid congestion. So developing markets that actually offer additional incentives to contribute to the grid congestions, the local grid congestions. This is something that we see already implemented in the UK. It's not yet in many other markets. But just one thing I wanted to say, the revenues that will come from providing this demand-side response will never be enough to make the heat pump break even. And this is very important. So it will help, it's an extra, but if we don't tackle all the rest, it's never gonna happen. So imagine a market where your product is super expensive because of the electricity prices, the taxes that I was mentioning before, and you also need to queue for years sometimes to get, it's just, unless you are Apple, it doesn't happen. So it's important to take that into account. This is gonna help, but it's not the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Since, even if you say it's not the solution, but it's going to help, I think it's still very important that it helps. And also, I would like to hear the perspective also of Enrique. We've heard from Sebastian, all the actors need to work together. We need more standardization. Also, manufacturers, installers need to collaborate on this. And then here from Marta, there's this development on this app so that people know when to adapt and so on. But of course, how are heat pumps, the production of heat pumps adapted to this, and the standardization and so on? How do you look at that?
Okay, but I'm going to leverage on each of your comments. And by the way, next time we can use Panasonic in your project, because I also will make advertising. But I think first point, as going to Marta's point, is I think heat pumps, most of the heat pumps are ready to integrate, I think, but we need to look at if the grid is ready to receive the integration. So I think that is two sides. So heat pump can offer flexibility, but the grid should be able to offer the opportunity to implement this flexibility that we can name it dynamic tariff, which in fact, in those countries where dynamic tariff exists, we can see savings. Our study, I think Spain is one of those. You can get between 400 up to 1,000 euro saving, which is, of course, I think you said very rightly, so it's not covering the cost, but I think it's helping. And as we are looking at a social approach, so I think every help is good. But then what you are mentioning, I think, Niels, I don't want to be wrong, but I think the code of conduct we have been signing is the response to that, right? So in fact, I think we are setting up the path. So, and I think we need to take on that, and we need to experience how to make the best out of it. I think also, but whilst we think this is the really good way to go, so we are also seeing in the same time we are receiving additional requests. So our view as manufacturers is, maybe before going the next stage, we need to experience with this code of conduct, experiencing what is happening. Maybe we can build the next steps from that, and maybe slow down a little. But I think we have response already for that point. And I think, and I don't want to finish saying, because I think it's important to understand, we keep repeating, heat pump is not heating or cooling or hot water system. So I think we need to all understand heat pump is our way to be secure and independent. So then this is a real and strategical move we are making. It's not a simple getting efficient, which is good because we will save energy and money, but I think we need to all understand as Europeans, heat pump is part, maybe we are now these days talking about tanks and weapons and many other things. I have a much better weapon to buy, which is a heat pump. Okay. That's all.
Thank you, Enrique. So maybe Niels, you can reply on the comments made on the Code of Conduct and other initiatives from the Commission side.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Enrique for making two very important points. I think first of all, thank you to Panasonic for signing the Code of Conduct. For those who don't know it, it's an initiative we did last year. It was launched end of April last year, voluntary initiative where the Commission facilitated manufacturers of HVAC equipment, heat pumps, but also white goods, washing machines, to come together and define a common minimum set of energy flexibility services that products placed on the market should have. They can still have their own proprietary standards, communication protocols, and so, but they should have a basic set of features that are openly available and they follow a certain kind of ontology, it's called it, so that anybody can you can put together systems with that. And actually, right now I think yesterday we launched in the product registry for energy labeled appliances, which we use as a tool for monitoring which products comply with this. This was launched yesterday, so later this year, we can see the data, but the public can't yet. But soon, later this year, we will launch together with the signatories. We will launch the outcomes of this, so it'll become possible to see which models the manufacturers have developed under this. So I think that's absolutely part of the response, and we of course do what we can to try to promote this code of conduct and the features in it. And Panasonic is one of them, Daikin is other, but we have a good group of known and heavy brands in the first group, and I think that more will join. The other thing I think Enrique very well pointed out was the security aspect of the independence. We need to free ourselves of fossil fuels, especially those imported, and then the Commission has made very clear it wants to end dependence on Russian energy by the end of 2027. And we have proposed actually that member states should make national plans, first national plans to phase out Russian energy by the end of this year. And coincidence, by the end of this year, member states should also make first draft national building renovation plans. I think there's quite a strong link there. So I think that's one message to take home to those who are active or nationally, to try to make sure that there is optimal coherence and synergies between those plans, because we really have a chance to kickstart that phase out, or rather kickstart the renovation of buildings, and there also as we phase out Russian energy, and heat pumps is clearly a major part of the response. So I think that's enough for now.
Thank you, Niels. And maybe I would like to turn to Anja. So you've seen this project now that Bright presented. How do you think will consumers, if this was presented to citizens who are not involved in energy and so on, how can we make them, positive towards this? Maybe, Bright, there's also a communication aspect involved in the project, but what is the good practice to make this popular and to make people want this type of project?
The key is the security coming in the secure quality being supported by the municipality, because this will clearly not have been done without the municipality. So you get the mayor heading that. And also I provided you all with a cheat sheet earlier. You can apply that to policymakers, to mayors, to your CEO. If you want anything from somebody, apply these rules, and then it's a shortcut. The municipality has himself thrown behind that, or itself. And then you do the communication on a neutral information basis, and then people will be very, very, very happy. if the steps are taken for them, if quality has been secured for them, if they don't have to think too much about it, if you get group settings where people can get the knowledge together and ask themselves questions. Because as I said earlier, you can't provide one-on-ones, and this is a real good shortcut. And I always said that to my audience. Some of you people will now be asking questions, and you will listen to them, and you will learn a lot from them, and you will think, oh, I hadn't thought of that question. And this is what happens in our group consultations, and this is why you will love them, and they are more valuable than one-on-one consultations. So, and this is the same that's happening in these projects. And if you can find similar quarters, that's a done thing. If you can set up things like that, that's great. It's a great solution, but it needs to come with proper salespeople, as Niels said before. And from my experience, the energy agencies are not equipped that much with proper communication skills, and at least not at management level. And I've read one question. Somebody asked how much these campaigns had cost. So Hanover was rather cheap. That was 1 million for 21 municipalities, including the setup. And then the budget was slashed in half because of Ukraine and Russia and economy not being able to pay so much taxes. So, and then I went to the national level, and that was a really full-on campaign, and that was heavily subsidized with 4 million. And that was really heavy, and I wouldn't do it like that. I think for a proper six-figure sum, you will be able to do really, really good communication, and you should replicate that. Don't invent the wheel again. It's all there. Copy it. Email me. It's really it's easy. Yeah.
Thank you, Anja. Is there anyone from the panel still wanting to add anything to the discussion now? Yes, Sebastian?
Just maybe one last aspect to all this data integration. Yeah, and that is a shift as well. It's not only about smart meter communication anymore. We need data platform, and if we speak about security, yeah, if I look at most of the servers running are offered by Chinese PV producers. So the data about these net integration are still already running in some systems which might not exactly what we want to have. And that is the last aspect where we need some ideas how to build up this European solution to host these data and have still in a market model, but to have this, and that is one of those aspects, even coming from the heat side, we have to learn it, we have to do it. It's an important part.
Thank you.
I would like to bring the discussion and shift it a bit from the singular homeowners and do their singular decision making, because ETS2 is coming to housing associations as well. And this is a major thing, and that needs to be done. So we are not talking enough about what's happening in the world right now in this conference. So I would like to make a point on becoming, having America being televised as becoming the new rogue state. So energy security is a major thing, and this applies to all of our housing associations as well, and they are municipality owned, and we have to just speed the whole process up, and we've got the technical solutions are there.
Thank you, Anja. Yeah, indeed. So it was mentioned also by several people, indeed, the energy security aspect and heating in this whole energy security conversation, should be much more of a bigger topic, and then indeed to accelerate going from single people deciding to social housing can be
half of Germany's energy is coming from Russia or America, I heard yesterday. So okay, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, let's move to maybe the Q&A. There's some questions here online already. If people have questions in the room, you can already start thinking about it. I will first read one online. So we had a question. I know the most popular one I will keep to the last. You will see why. But I'll go with the second popular one. So it says, in cold Canada, heat pumps are successful thanks to subsidies and cheap power prices. Can we recreate that success here, knowing power is more expensive? So does anyone wants to come in? Yes, Enrique?
Yeah, in fact, it's recreated in many countries already. So for instance, you can go to UK today, high subsidy. So, and the process is going. I think Germany is coming back. So with high subsidies. So, but let me challenge the subsidies again. So even as manufacturer might love them because of course it's good. But I think we need to, if I can reply, I make it a little longer, I think we need to use the subsidies to fix the process. So if the subsidy is incentivizing, in the meantime, we need to be sure we are creating the right energy price, or we need to educate more installers, etc. So I think this is a short, in my opinion, I don't know how you think, short-term success. We need to succeed long-term successes.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to react to this
well,
question?
I would just repeat the message. I said, well, the cheapest way to reduce our bill is to reduce taxes. And I don't know in Canada, but I can tell you in the US, the taxes on electricity are much lower. So that would be a way to recreate the situation there.
Okay, thank you. Another question is more related to the grid. So it said, if not coupled with other heating technologies, isn't there a risk that the deployment of heat pumps will increase peak load occurrences? Maybe Sebastian, yeah.
For sure, there's a risk. So the question about energy management and correct sizing, storage and so on is important. And the question where the bivalence point is, and all these kind of questions are important to that question. And there might be some cases where as well combined systems might be hybrid heat pumps might be a solution as well, but it can be overcome without combining simply fossil fuels in the coldest days and so on. So, but we need to work on these solutions to be prepared at that time when we really come up to these, let's say 60-70% based on heat pumps, and then we need the solutions ready. But we talked about the grid and the integration already. So I think it's solvable, but we have to address this topic.
Okay.
And coming from the practical perspective of the citizen, we're always explaining, you've got a thermal battery, that's your house. Mm-hmm. So I do heat up my house quite a lot during the night because energy is so cheap. So in the morning or at the early hours, the heat pump doesn't work at all because it's not necessary, because we've got proper insulation. So and stuff like that will also do peak shaving by heat pumps. Yes, we need a better grid, but we need storage anyway.
The next question is actually related to that. Okay, no, Niels, you wanted to react?
Perhaps just to recall that the peak shaving is one of the most obvious and most cost-effective ways of addressing this. But a precondition is that people have the incentive to bother setting up the heat pump, and if they don't have a smart meter. Or if the smart meter isn't smart, I mean, in Germany, our biggest and richest member state, after discussing smart meters for more than 20-30 years,
we have solutions about 500, 600 euros, yeah.
And in Belgium, I got a smart meter. I thought 4 years ago. It turns out it's not smart. They come and read it once a year. It's digital. It's not smart. It's quite. And I cannot choose a dynamic tariff. And again, I have to. This is not EU. This is not EU rules. This is local level, national level politics. And we need to fix this. It's really basic to get the economic incentives right.
Yeah. There's always this question on: do we have enough? If everybody. So this also applies to every hairdryer. If everybody would switch on their hairdryers, and we've seen that on, we don't have enough petrol stations if there is a panic. We don't have enough loo roll if everybody wants to buy loo roll at some. So no, let that discussion not become a problem. Calm it down and not have it. It's not a problem. Grids are growing. Demand is growing. It's all fine. It's not a problem at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Niels, this morning I was working from home in Brussels, waiting for the installers to install my smart meters, but they postponed it for another 2 weeks, so they didn't come. After sending messages every day the past week that they would come this morning, they didn't come. I'm also still waiting. Also no flexible tariff for my heat pump, but okay. I saw there was one question in the beginning, who of the panel has a heat pump? With that, you already have some of the responses. I think we're close to the end. I don't know, were there questions in the room? Yes, okay, we'll start, maybe Davide?
Yes, I didn't hear a lot about combination with renewable energies like solar thermal, geothermal, a little bit on also on storage. I mean, if you can't cut the taxes on electricity because member states do what they want, maybe that's the way to go to lower costs on electricity costs. And I don't know if the industry is working that direction and how it can be best improve this combination of technologies once you deploy heat pumps.
Do we have to rephrase the question for the online audience?
Oh. Oh, good.
Will you?
Good. Yes, so the question of Davide was whether there's already a lot of thinking or working on combining heat pumps with other renewable energy solutions, for example, solar thermal or others.
So yes, indeed, in Iberdrola, what we try to do is to offer a combined solution for the customer. So we go and see the customer on a case-by cases, and we look at, can we isolate the building? Can we provide, for instance, a charging point for the car, the heat pump, so the PV in the rooftop? So it's always a combined solution. It's not, at least in our case, it's not isolated. And the same goes for the industry. We try to find the best solution. Sometimes it's a heat pump, for instance, for industry consuming heat. It can be a heat pump, but it can also be an electric boiler with thermal storage. So we look at the best combination for the particular customer. Yeah.
If I cannot, of course, the only answer can be yes. Yes, of course. So we are cooperating with inverter manufacturers to find direct communication. We are sharing API with a lot of manufacturers. We are creating interfaces on all the versions the industry have, Modbus, EE-Bus, or Connex, or BACnet, or Longworks, or everybody's having a different way of communicating. But definitely, we consider our product as a part of our ecosystem. So definitely, I don't think there is any way to move forward if we are not part. Same, we talk about the grid. So in fact, the first grid we need to consider is the in-home grid, right? So yes, absolutely yes.
Thank you. Marta?
Well, first of all, thank you. I was also missing some words about storage and maybe about heat recovery. So I would like to underpin what you said about flexibility from heat pumps. We had a blackout in Spain. We were some of us up to 12 hours. And it is an opportunity. It shouldn't be a threat. It's just an opportunity to realize we need that flexibility now. It's not the future. Probably with heat pumps it would have been minimized. So heat pumps shift loads dynamically. They can storage energy thermally. They support the grid balancing in real time, and they empower buildings to act as prosumers. So we need it now. It's not the future. And then I had a question for Anja, because I've seen your presentation a couple of times already, so thank you again. But I have a concern. Everything, in this customer journey, everything you say has been done by the gas lobby for years, and they continue to do so. What makes the difference between this approach by the heat pumps lobby and the gas lobby? Because it's exactly the same. The gas lobby provides the security, the comfort, everything. It's exactly the same. So what can we do as a sector to make a difference, because otherwise there's no change. Thank you.
What do we do differently is we speak about where we are going in the first place, and we are becoming climate neutral. And that was for all of the audiences in all over Germany, that was new. That they didn't realize that Germany would be not burning anything from 1st of January 2045. They didn't know that. So and that's the national goal, and there's a law on that. So if you come from inevitability, this isn't going to go away. This is the way things are shifting, and this is the way you can approach it, and this is the first step, and then take the heat out of the debate and just make it approachable and nudge people in the right direction. We've heard a brilliant talk about how to do psychological communications, like Kahneman, Tversky. I would suggest everybody looking that up. That was highly valuable yesterday afternoon. Thomas, you know the name of the guy. Mr. De Myers, Professor De Myers. There's even a TED talk on that. So don't be divisive. Don't have a heated communication. Come from a low level where people are not that much engaged and get them into action. And there's only one small action, and that has to be just very, very low key. And then people are dropping into the right direction, and then we can provide everything else. But if you start persuading people, you will always also be dividing, and then you will lose some. Yeah.
Thank you, Anja. I think we have to be quite strict with the time according to the organizers. I know there are other questions, but I would suggest that we close, that we can maybe talk informally after the session. But there was one question, I don't see it on the screen anymore, and I wanted to close with that. The question was, how can heat pumps be helpful in industry, and what is the potential there? Well, there I would invite you all to stay here, because the next session starts at 4:30, and it will be exactly about that, about industrial heat pumps and district heating and cooling, and what is the potential there, and what are the next steps. And also Marta already pointed to that. As concluding words, I would just, for me, the key word that kept popping up was collaboration among all the different actors to accelerate the rollout, to also convince consumers, and also to have system integration. I think that's really what we should do all together, and also, of course, to bring costs down, both the CapEx and the OpEx. So let's collaborate together and see where we stand in a year from here. Thank you very much.